We all have stories. Stories inspired by culture, competition, creativity. Stories show our humanity. They inspire us to greatness and remind us to be humble. Stories connect us to our communities and the rest of the world. We are the Chata people, and these are our stories. See and share them at togetherwe'remore.com.
It's caught. Hollywood! Lights! Camera! Action! Hollywood Brown! CeeDee Lamb still running! Into corner! CeeDee! For the TD!
People don't know what it is to be champions. Oklahoma invented it.
What is up, everybody? Welcome to Through the Keyhole. It's an Oklahoma football podcast. What's up, everybody? Brady Trantham here alongside Matt Burton. Say something.
Something.
There you go. Peyton Guthrie, how you doing?
Doing well. Ready to be back in the action.
Doing well. Well, it's officially college football season because the United States has been bounced out of the World Cup. Everyone's upset. Matt, were you upset?
I was a little upset last night, I will say, but we always will have that 60 seconds where United States equalized and then went down 2-1 after literal 1 minute of play. So we'll always have that 1 minute after Malik Tillman's deflected free kick, but it's okay. I'm over it. We're all good.
What was the comp of that game, you ask, if you're an OU football fan? Boy, that had 2008 Fiesta Bowl against West Virginia written all over it. The only thing that was missing was, what's his name? Flo Balogun. Is that his name?
Yeah.
The only thing that was missing was him being suspended because he stole coats from a Burlington coat factory. That was the Fiesta Bowl, if I've ever seen it. And I've only watched like 4 soccer games in my life, that being the 4th one last night. Peyton, have you taken in the World Cup that often?
I watched my first 30 minutes of it last night and to watch USA go down. I wanted to see what all this hubbub was about. Not impressed, to be honest with you. Can't wait to see the next USA game, though. Trying to find that on the TV schedule.
Yeah, I think Russillo had was it Russillo? Like he had a funny tweet, or someone did. It was like, just got to like pack it in and get ready for game 2. It's like, oh yeah. Oh, well, like we wanted to start with a little bit of a World Cup funniness. I don't know who this is that made this graphic, because anyone can make a graphic if you have AI, especially now. Anybody can do it. An entity referred to as the next round. They did me a favor because I'm not like Matt. I'm not like you. I'm not like Ryan Chapman. Bless his heart. He looked just destroyed. Yes, he looked ashamed to be an American last night, I must say. Yeah. It was a hard watch, but I have very 1% idea of what international soccer is like, who's good, who's bad. I have like general, like I know Spain's good. I know Brazil and Argentina are awesome. My wife, who's also kind of watching soccer at the same rate that I've been watching it, is utterly turned off by how often they flop. And then I would explain to her, when the NBA started to get a little bit more European, that's when all the flopping started in the NBA. So, hey, this is where it came from. Well, for my stupid college football brain, the next round made a graphic comparison of international soccer clubs and their college football program equivalents. And Matt, like we talked about this a little bit before the show started. I'll let you kind of explain why this is a bad comp. But this person, this group, this 16-year-old says Oklahoma equals Sweden. And the text says the model of high-level consistency that boasts a top-tier historical record and are a safe bet to dominate the regional schedules, but they are still fighting to cross the finish line for a modern championship. And Matt Burton, 2000 is not modern anymore.
No, it's not. It's been a while. It's been a while. The drought is the OU title drought is kicked off its parents' health insurance. That's how old this is. So,
oh no.
You hate to see that. I maybe I get it if he's talking about from but even then, Sweden's never won a World Cup. So that's that throwing OU the brand in as, just this, oh, they're trying to get back to winning ways. Sweden really hasn't had winning ways. They haven't won a World Cup. So yeah, if he's talking about the turn of the century, I mean, OU's championship was the literal first one of the turn of the century. So yeah, I don't know. I would say a better comp is either like Italy or Brazil, if you want to make that comp. But for OU, that is, because like, I mean, Brazil's won a ton of these things. I think they won 5 of them, but their last one was in 2002, and they've kind of been embarrassed in the last few World Cups. I mean, the 2014 World Cup, which was hosted in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil, if you'll remember, they got their asses kicked by the Germans. They got beat
by their neighbor Germany, who's right next door to them in Argentina. Like that's not fair.
Yeah, no, it's not fair. They had to play their brothers there. But no. But no, I think Brazil would be a fine comp, and then either Brazil or Italy. I think that's probably the better comp of the two. Sweden is kind of disrespectful, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I mean, I wondered, like, do the Argentines, when they're playing soccer, do they have to catch themselves and when they're like schnell, I mean, vamonos, yes, yeah. That's what I meant. Yeah. That language, of course. Yeah, I mean, Peyton, really, like, I guess Brazil would make the most sense, but I mean, really, the question is, what country makes the World Cup but has yet to win a World Cup match? Like, because OU's not won a playoff game.
Yeah, that's a little bit harder. I'm desperately trying to pull up this Sweden Wikipedia article, but my internet's like dying. Trying to keep the stream going. And basically, what I'm seeing is that Sweden's made it to the Final Four 4 times and has never cracked through, and that kind of sounds like modern day Oklahoma a little bit. So, like, maybe if they're only looking at it from that very, very narrow specific side of it, there's like some Buffalo Bills quality to Oklahoma at the moment. Get to the playoffs and never win it. Win a game. So maybe that's kind of where they're kind of drawing the line on that side of it. Yeah. The soccer, World Cup, football, however you say, it's never been my cup of tea. And so we're over there, if you're over there in Europe, even though I'm a big Spurs fan, so Argentina all the way, I guess. That's where we're pulling on the rest of the time. But no, the only thing I know is that July 19th, I'll be going down to Texas Live, to the Choctaw Casino's VIP area to sit and watch this last game.
Nice.
Oh boy. I would assume you'd have...
oh, sorry. No, go ahead.
Go ahead, Matt. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, if there is like, if you want to do a comp of like since like 2010 or something like that, if that's what it is, like the more recent one, honestly, I don't think Belgium is a bad comp. I mean, Belgium, they finished 3rd in one of the World Cups, and also they had their own kind of like golden generation, if you will, where they had like just some superstars and they just couldn't break through into that title game. So that's kind of like you have like a Kyler Murray, a Baker, Jalen Hurts, and you can't break through and win the big one. That was kind of Belgium in the mid to late 2010s.
Other teams mentioned, England equals Texas, and again, with my absolute limited knowledge of international soccer, that makes 1,000% sense to me for whatever reason. Saudi Arabia equals Texas Tech, which, yeah. Although Saudi Arabia, I don't know if they like playing the victim card that much. They actually unfortunately do stuff. If they set their mind to something, they'll do it. Unlike Texas Tech, who's like, Cincinnati hasn't been punished. We'll talk about that later.
Cody Campbell did make a bunch of threats on Twitter, so that's as close as they got.
Oh, I don't want to make a religious joke or an analogy, but did someone draw Cody Campbell? You can't do that in Lubbock. Don't draw him. Anywho, as we move on away from the silliness that is soccer, shout out to everybody that enjoys it. Hopefully you weren't too disheartened. And hey, there's 50 or 60 days until college football season begins, which is, we're all excited for that. 2 weeks until SEC Media Day. Big 12, or should I say Monster Energy Big 12 extravaganza media days going on currently. And boy, oh boy, well, we talk about that, like I said, a little bit later. But we didn't have Peyton on last week. We talked a little bit about John Mateer and the throwing motions and the jumping and the footwork and all those things and the cool hair that he has. I mean, Peyton, I asked everybody, you weren't there. What's your front squat?
Oh, right now or a lifetime historical?
Lifetime historical. Like let's let you look cool.
405, buddy.
405.
Nice.
Big
That's
man.
the best area code in the world, man.
Yeah.
Right
now,
yeah.
315 is probably kind of rough. I could probably get through 15 twice, maybe, but it's just my back how it is now. It'd be tough work.
Did he hit depth? Was it good form?
Oh, that was fine. That was good football form.
That was fine.
I judge you on the curve. When I see football people lift stuff, I judge everything on the curve. I'm like, they'll never, ever, in any reason, show a football player ever be hitting depth on the field.
Oh, no kidding. I mean, I was actually kind of disappointed. You know, the cynical side of me was disappointed, but I was very happy to see, because I clicked on the video or on the post to look at the responses, because I was waiting for 12 people didn't hit depth. It's like, none of you actually lift, or none of you've actually lifted plus played football. Just stop being dumb. But no, John Mateer is lifting weights. He's probably the only, I think, quarterback documented as of right now that is lifting weights this offseason, which is a great advantage that OU has. But Peyton, I'll start with you. You know, we talked about this back in the spring, once spring practice started, and the media were asking John about his throwing motions, and it kind of I understand where it starts from. It's like, hey, it's essentially what are you working on this offseason? So we all know you have stuff to work on this offseason. So what were you working on? And the easiest visible thing to discuss is his mechanics, because they are kind of all over the place. And we all kind of just understood that, yeah, he's going to make improvements, or at least try to make improvements this offseason. But at this point in his life and his career, how he throws the football is how he throws the football. There are some things he can still clean up, but we're not going to know anything until the season starts. But now that he's at the Manning Passing Academy, showing off what he looks like in shorts and a tank top and throwing against no pass rush, everything looks cool. And the conversations have come back about his supposed work on his mechanic. And I don't say supposed in an insulting way. He's worked on his mechanics this offseason, but the results, the supposed, this will lead to something better. Is it irking you, Peyton? Is it exciting you watching these clips of him, reading these stories about him? Or is it just I'll believe it when I see it?
No, I mean, the form stuff is something that's nice to see. You want to have our football players play for Oklahoma, the team we all cheer for, to be continually improving themselves. Very much like a Kaizen performance type situation. You want to see that. He does need a complete rework from the ground up for his throwing motion. It's kind of there. There's multiple levels to this conversation. I've seen a lot of the internet pundits kind of hit it on all three levels. One, it's good that he's doing the work, right? That's helpful. That is generally nice to see. Two, the sidearmed motion was always going to have him miss up and to the right a little bit. And we saw that. We would see ball sell on him. I think the interception against Michigan was the exact thing. Had a wide open guy and just sailed off up and to the right. Boom, safety got it, right? So fixing that can potentially help some accuracy issues from a mechanical side of it. The other part of it is where he's trying to fit balls in, layering the balls from over a linebacker into the safety, that sort of stuff, or trying to hit guys down the sideline, which you never really see him do. He likes doing, mainly because of his mechanical, he likes throwing that seam routes like that. Those deep balls off to on the edge, that was going to be toss it up, right? Someone's going to be wide ass open for him to feel comfortable throwing that ball because he doesn't have a lot of arc on it. Getting over the top is going to help him do that. Getting some more power behind the ball was always going to come from his hips. And if you watch him, there's a couple of videos I saw, the camera guys behind him, you see 3 dropbacks in a row. in one of the dropbacks, like the fourth dropback, he doesn't have the football anymore, but he like does like a couple of movements, and you can tell, okay, he's trying to activate his hips, like he's turning his hips like that side. How he used to throw was the hips were always very much the secondary. He was a baseball player. He was throwing that to first base, right? Shortstop to first. Now he's throwing very much so using the hips and kind of generating some more torque. All very good from a mechanical side of it. The third point is that you can see a lot of really, really good football players who look really good throwing a football. OU's had a lot of guys like that. Bomar's one of them who look good. But if you don't know where to throw the ball and when to throw the ball, sometimes the how to throw the ball really doesn't make sense. So I'm more, I guess, bullish on the news of him and Sam Bradford sitting down and walking through some stuff. One of the more surgical guys, sitting him down and walking him through what he was seeing on the field and stuff. I think that is more beneficial than anything from that side of it. What it happens, how it does, what happens there, I'm not for sure. Oklahoma had a average quarterback last year, still won 10 games with a very subpar running game, was still able to get it done. So having a quarterback who can reach his full potential, hopefully, and not have to do as much and maybe have some clearer reads because OU has a run game and a tight end room there, I think that all kind of adds into it. Am I putting a bunch of stock into like Heisman contender, here we go, let's do it? I'm not for sure I'm on that level, and I try not to be like an OU hater on this. I don't know how much I'm buying into it. I think it's good all the way across the board. I don't know if it moves the needle for me for OU moving forward.
No, I mean, I think you're absolutely right because it's kind of generally how I feel. Like, I have no doubt that he's worked on things. I have no doubt that he's identified X, Y, and Z of what are his flaws, and he's actively trying to work on them. My doubt is, okay, that's all well and good, but when Colin Simmons is like racing down to chase your ass and take it to the ground, like, are you going to remember to like activate your hips when you're throwing? Or are you just going to do what comes most naturally to you? And that's not to say that I think he's doomed for failure, because I've just always been of the opinion that John Mateer is fine. I think that his athleticism, I think that his overall play is good enough. I'm willing to just kind of sit here and resign myself to say, like, yeah, a lot of what we saw last year had to do with the injury. That doesn't mean that every interception or incomplete pass he threw was because of it, because there were plenty of examples where are you looking? Why did you throw that? Why did you not identify this out of an RPO? Why did you not identify the Mike linebacker bailing and they're running zone. So why are you throwing it to a zone directly there in a playoff game? So it's not all his injury, but I think with how the program is set up, you don't need 45 touchdowns through the air, 5 to 10 touchdowns on the ground, under 6 interceptions, which is damn near perfection. That's Baker Mayfield, Sam Bradford, Kyler Murray numbers. You don't need that with this team. If he makes a year 2 jump similar to Nate Hibble from 01 to 02, he went from Nate Hibble and Mateer's first years at OU as the starters, damn near identical numbers. If John has a year 2 like Nate does, OU's playing in multiple playoff games at the very least this year. Like that's all he needs to do. And I think he can do that with his janky throwing motions. I think he can do that with his janky footwork. That doesn't mean that I'm rolling my eyes at this offseason work. I'm just like, pause it. Now, Peyton, you did mention the Sam Bradford thing. And Matt, I want to bring this up to you. I'm not a Sooner Scoop subscriber. Shout out to them. They do obviously a fantastic job. And George is a great writer. But I've not read the story, so I don't really know any particular details there within, other than just the general gist of what's been shared online and just the understanding that Sam Bradford took time out of his, being a rich retired football player life to kind of mentor or spend some time with John Mateer. I got to admit, I'm willing to be like completely and utterly fanboyish with this and just think that's so damn cool. It's just cool. Like Sam Bradford, he's kind of a hermit. He's been a hermit like essentially ever since he retired from the NFL. Or did he officially retire, or was it kind of like an Adrian Peterson thing where he just stopped getting signed, and that's just kind of how it just kind of flamed out in that way. And of course it's all injuries with him. Like that was the unfortunate thing. Like I don't think anyone would say he's a bust by any stretch of the imagination as a number one overall pick. Yeah. Like, cause you have a lot of undue expectations, but in terms of what he was able to do when he was healthy, like he played like a number one overall pick, like you would expect him to be, especially coached by Jeff fucking Fisher with an awful team, just awful. But ever since he's stopped playing, like his appearances at OU have been very few and far between. I remember when Lincoln Riley brought him down for a recruiting visit, or like the Champ View barbecue, whatever they used to do in the summer. And everybody lost their minds because Lane Johnson posted a selfie on Owen Field with Sam Bradford. Everybody lost their minds. Like, Sam's back. That's awesome. I'm willing to at least like sink my teeth into that story and think that's so cool that Sam's getting to this point in his life where he can kind of look at OU and say, I can actually help, because NIL is a thing and I have some money, I have passion, and I give a shit about my alma mater. And if they need my help or they want my guidance, or a player needs my help or guidance, like I'm here to give it to them. It's pretty cool.
It's very cool. And I mean, it did kind of sound like it was not like fully Sam Bradford's idea, but it sounded more. And again, shout out to George Stoya who did this, who wrote the article, did a great job. But it sounded like Sam like just jumped at the opportunity. Kind of. It sounded like it was more so like cool for him to just it seemed like he wanted to be back around the sport, like, and wanted to kind of be back around, watching film and doing all of that. Sam, don't get me wrong, Sam Bradford's not going to be he's not going to be like the next quarterback coach at OU. I think he made too much money in the NFL and enjoys being a retired NFL player, probably playing a ton of golf. Like I think he enjoys his time. But from this aspect of like, hey, I think I can help out here and just go over some film and try to, not coach John Mateer up, but like just walk him through some things. And I don't know, it seemed like that's what was cool. I mean, that's just what was cool to me, is that Sam Bradford seemingly like jumped at this opportunity from like what you were saying, Brady, is we kind of, Sam Bradford's he's kind of existing, right? I mean, just kind of existing as a retired NFL player, and know he plays a ton of golf, but you don't know that much about him, don't really see him that much. And then for him to do this, like, I mean, it's awesome, man. And I know from maybe if we have any younger listeners or anything, you don't remember just how good Sam Bradford was. I mean, he was awesome at OU. I mean, there's a reason they don't just pick anybody as the number one pick in the NFL draft. So, yeah, I mean, it just really cool. And I mean, who better to learn from, man, than Sammy B? There's not many better.
Yeah, he was the best passing quarterback I've ever seen. I think Kyler's the best quarterback to ever play at OU, but I think if you just like break down each asset a quarterback has to their game, accuracy, oh, that's Sam all day. Like, it was 100%. Just insane how accurate he was. It was beautiful to watch most of the time. Real quick, so apologies to anyone that was trying to tune in, any of our patrons. I don't know what I did. I must have done something wrong, hit a wrong button. But the link was private for everybody. If you click the link on our Patreon page, patreon.com/through the keyhole. Apologies, but we've now made it public. So again, if you're listening out there, you're not a patron, but you're interested, we do put out live streams from our YouTube page, so you can watch us on the show. If you'd be interested in doing that, go to Keyhole Sports on YouTube, subscribe. That would help us out a ton. But yeah, it's public now. So, yo, yeah, I mean, Peyton, with the whole Sam thing, like, again, judging by what I know of the story, because I don't know the particulars of it, but I do know that from just some quotes that have been shared, Sam spent a lot of time with John watching film. To me, I mean, that is the most advantageous situation John can find himself in my opinion, is because if you're going to get help from Sam Bradford, I want you to be next to him in a film room and try to absorb how he looks at things, both pros and cons, because that was one of the things about Sam. He was so cerebral. He was such a smart player. To me, that's like the real advantage here. And like, this can kind of be categorized as like their hashtag lifting weights. Ha ha ha. Like, everyone's getting better in the off season. Everyone's trying. But again, Peyton, like, Sam is special. He is a legend for a reason. And when a legend kind of picks you out, you know, as John Mateer and extends his hand to try to help you, like, it has to mean something, has to lead to something.
Yeah, for sure. I think it speaks to the strength of the program that Brent Venables has built with the reaching out to former players, making sure they feel welcome, making sure they feel like there's a place for them here, or they're in Norman, Oklahoma, in the program, and being able to impact and do this stuff. I think it's really important for someone like Sam to feel connected, right? I mean, he just disappeared off the face of the earth. Apparently, I was reading some article that he played in something called a 4-ball tournament in 2025. Seems like a golf tournament type thing. So, he's doing some stuff. It seems like he's kind of getting his life back. Anything was wrong with him, obviously, but obviously he went from like, this is the next guy, Heisman winner, to injury after injury after injury, after all, and being so much in the public light, especially his pro career, not being probably what he wanted it to be, obviously. Probably needed a good reset, and this kind of feels like a chance for him to be more, just engaged, connected. Obviously, you'll probably know the comparison I'll use, but the other team I cheer for a different sport, very much like that. They keep their legends close. They're in that program, they're in that thing, and they're coaching up and talking to the current stars and stuff like that. And you just see that continuity. Throughout the years in the pro teams, the college programs, the ones that win year after year after year after year, some of that is that connective tissue between the past, the present, and the future, and making sure everyone understands what it means to be an Oklahoma Sooner, what it means to put that work in, what it means to win big games and stuff like that. I think that's just really, really beneficial for any program as they try to set a level of consistency.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. I mean, that's a big part of what Brent Venables wants to do with the program. And I mean, everybody can remember the first spring game in his tenure where he had 200 former players on the field at halftime of the game, and continuously shouting that they are OU football and they're always welcome. And that's important. I mean, Bob Stoops did that when he got the head coaching job at OU, because I mean, that was still, just under 10 years after Switzer resigned, and the program was kind of in shambles, and a lot of shame thrown at the program for obvious reasons. And so a lot of those former players didn't feel very welcome around. And then Bob made a point to like, no, you guys are welcome back. So you'd see the Boz, you'd see Barry Switzer and them on the sideline during that championship run in 2000. And it's a part of, is that why they won a national championship? No, but it doesn't hurt. These are all good things. So, it's just from a general standpoint, like, yeah, if you're a casual observer, it's just like, this is off-season content. To us, like, no, I think it's pretty cool that Sam's doing that. So awesome for him. Preseason predictions. Like, I feel like this is the first year that we've gone this far without really having a discussion about what we actually think the team will go once the season starts. Now, I put out my preseason predictions game by game on Patreon on the Monday post yesterday on patreon.com/through-the-keyhole. So I'll basically hold myself for last, but Matt, I'm going to let you jump first. So when you look at the schedule, when you know what OU's got coming back, all the questions, all the optimism, what makes the most sense to you in terms of final win-loss record?
Man, I don't know. This just says more about me, as like kind of.
It does. It's
being
your prediction.
Being a pessimist. About me being a pessimist, but 9-3 is where I'm at. I don't know. I think they drop both the Georgia and the Texas game, and then they got in that one of the last 3 out of 4, like at Florida, home against Ole Miss, home against A&M. I think one of those three they end up losing. But 9-3 for me, even though, I mean, I want to be an optimist, right? I mean, I want to be an optimist. They just went to the college football playoff with the quarterback who had a broken hand, broken thumb, or whatever it was. So like
It was a broken
wanna
spine.
yes, and broken vision, but no. So I want to be optimistic. If I were being optimistic, that's what I would lean on. Of like, hey, well, they just went 10-2 and went to the college football playoff, and all that went wrong for them. Like in the middle of the season, especially. So, yeah, I don't know. I'll go 9-3 in that, and to me, that feels like playing it pretty safe and not really giving a benefit of the doubt, if that makes sense.
Okay, well, in your head, is your 9-3? Are we happy with it? Are we disappointed with it? Like basically, once the dust clears, do we look at it and go, OU was a really good team. They just didn't make enough plays against Georgia or Texas, and they had like one kind of like just bad day at the office against Florida or Mississippi State or Texas A&M or something like that. Is it that kind of 9-3, or is it the 9-3 where there were only 3 really good teams on our schedule as like the season wore along, and OU lost to all of them? That's not a very good sign.
I think I'm leaning more toward the latter. Just because I don't know, man. And it's, again, it's the SEC. We've said this whenever OU is coming into the conference, and it's played out like this, where hell, I mean, anybody can pop up and have a good year in the SEC. It really doesn't matter who it is. Hell, OU in Texas entered the SEC, and Vanderbilt had the best years that they've like ever had in my lifetime in football. So literally anyone can pop up and have a good year in the SEC. Doesn't matter who you are. So, but I mean, we saw last year too. OU schedule just didn't end up being what we thought it was going to be. I mean, it was still tough. Like, don't get me wrong, it's an SEC schedule, but some of the teams, like an LSU is the one that sticks out to me, where it's like, okay, yeah, they were just kind of a shell of themselves, even though they still had a pretty decent defense last year towards the end. But I don't know. Yeah, I think it's more to the latter of your point, where, hey, maybe some bounces go the wrong way in the Cotton Bowl, bounces go the wrong way in Athens, and that's going to be a tough game in Athens, regardless of if you have good bounces or not. So yeah, no, and then yeah, I also think the run last year that OU went on, to end the season, a lot of close wins. And I guess I think for me, I'm just not banking on, but being like, that might not happen again, right? Just that the ball bounces in these close games, that OU might not get the bounces that they got. Maybe they don't get a 4 out of 4 or 5 out of 5 field goal performance from Tate Sandell this time around, or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, the interesting thing is in 2024, OU was a bad team, but it's like every opponent hit their over except for Missouri. I can't remember what their over-under was, but they were just equally as kind of average as OU. They were obviously they beat OU, but those were 2 bad teams pillow fighting each other. But yeah, OU was a bad team in 24, but everybody on their schedule was awesome. So it kind of balanced out. Like, I thought OU overall was a good team last year. Good teams with these schedules can go 8-4 or 9-3. They were a good team last year, but they were helped out by the fact that Tennessee ended up being pretty average offensively and frankly pretty bad on defense. Alabama was kind of, I mean, if you're going to get Alabama, like, that was the year, but hell, tell that to Georgia, because they can't do it. So, I mean, I'm not going to sit here and say like, oh, that they were lucky to win. Like, OU won straight up, and yeah, close wins. Like, I remember writing the story in the airport flying to Knoxville for the Tennessee game of, look at all these instances where Brent Venables, who prides himself on winning in the margins and doing all the little things, look at all these close losses they have. So, like, if you want to say close wins are a detriment, I would just argue that, hey, it's a lot better than a close loss, like, unless you're Texas.
Oh, 100%.
I know you're not saying that.
Yeah. And I'm not saying it was luck. And I'm not saying it was luck involved. Like, I mean, Dude, shout out to Tate Sandell, dude. He stepped up and drilled those kicks. Like that's not luck, you know. That's him being locked in the moment, making those kicks. You know, all the defensive plays that had to happen, right? Like an Eli Bowen pick six in Alabama. That wasn't luck. You know, the Owen Heineke in Tennessee, you know, knocking the ball out and it goes to Armason Thomas. He runs back for a touchdown. Like, I mean, you had to go and force those plays. I think I guess the pessimist part of me is like allowing for the pendulum to swing back a little bit the other way. Whereas, hey, maybe you don't win those close games down the stretch. Maybe you drop one and hopefully not two down the stretch.
Yeah. And that's where everybody is hoping that OU's made enough necessary improvements on offense that if these teams kind of like, if it jumps back the other way and Georgia's probably going to be awesome. Texas is going to be pretty awesome. But what about Ole Miss and Texas A&M by that point in the season? Like, are they still awesome? Like, is it that type of year where everybody is off, like on OU schedule? They're all great at the same time. Well, if they've made the improvements on offense and they're still elite on defense, it might not matter because OU just might be a better team on that day. But that's what everybody's hoping for. So 9-3 for one Matt Burton. Peyton, how you feeling about 2026?
Yeah, no, I've written down 9-3 as well. You know, Vegas has it, you know, 7.5 for the over/under for Oklahoma. I think 9-3 gets it done. I do think they go 1-2. They have 2 losses after Texas. I think that's tough.
Is it Michigan? Just
it's quick. Michigan and the Miners. Just to get, they start off 0-2 and they go on a big run. No, you know, I think the Bulldogs are obviously the SEC's champions until otherwise. If ESPN is even somewhat right, because they're like keep releasing like the top 5 position units in college football, Texas is the only team in all of them, right? So it's like, okay, so they're just the best team talent wise, at least on their top line. That's just tough, a back to back. Now I get there's an off week there. It's tough back to back, and then you run into the same thing Matt's saying. I think as OU fans, we're looking at the Florida, Ole Miss, Texas A&M, and Missouri stretch and kind of going, yeah, 4 now. And I'm just not for sure that's what it is on its entirety. I'm trying to find there is a website. I was trying to find the blue chip ratio, and I'm going to find it after this. But we're doing something live right now. There's a website called Punt and Rally, which has Oklahoma as the 8th most talented football team in the SEC based on recruiting rankings on their current team, and currently OU under the 50% blue chip ratio, and they have drastically fallen since 2023. Of keep going down and down and down. That said, I can't see a source anywhere on this website, so I'm not entirely for sure potentially where they're getting everything. But I think we're really kind of underrating how strong Georgia's roster is, how strong Texas's roster is, how strong A&M's is. You're like, we saw them get their ass kicked, whatever. How strong Florida's team usually just generally is. You know, Michigan is basically right there with Oklahoma talent-wise. I mean, you've got a lot of teams that are just really close to Oklahoma, and you have to hope Oklahoma just being better at execution. They're not going to be able to roll over and just beat a team in the SEC. I think we've seen that even in the 10-2 run. You know, Brady, you and I were very much so publicly against each other for the last year's Missouri game, where Oklahoma like barely found a way to win. You know, that game. I just don't think this team, as it's built, is just leagues better than the average SEC team. That said, they play the 2 best teams and then a collection of average ones. So we'll get to see if Oklahoma can separate. And I think my big thing was last year Oklahoma was able to beat average SEC teams by a point, right? By a score. Marked improvement, like orders of magnitude better, is now you're beating those teams by double digits. Now you're beating, you know, the Kentuckys, the Mississippi States, the South Carolinas, the A&Ms, the Missouri Tigers. You're putting them away by 10 to 14. across the board. That means you are a bona fide good football team. If you're sneaking through all this stuff off field goals and, last second stuff, that will be tough. I have said the Michigan game to me, if Oklahoma goes in there and they win by 14, win by 17, then I'm thinking this is a legitimate team, right? Not like we hung around and we got it done on that side of it. But I think it's a 9-3 team. I think I have the exact same thing. I think you lose at Georgia. I think you lose in Dallas, and then somewhere between the Gators, Rebels, Aggies, Tigers, you drop one, and then you're still 1.5 over what Vegas thinks you are, right? 9-3 is very, very good, especially against the schedule. You're playing 9 SEC teams, this year. So to go, I guess basically your only losses are to SEC teams at that point in time. 6-3 conference record. I don't think that's bad. Obviously, a 10-2 would be a lot better. That's that separation of this is a good football team to this is a playoff team at that point in time.
Yeah, 9-3 is not getting you into the playoff
No.
unless you have a 2007 situation where there's a ton of 2-loss teams, and so it just opens the field up that much more. The thing that I wanted to jump on with yours, Peyton, is how you said that. How did you say it exactly? Like OU is, in terms of like the total talent on the roster in comparison to the rest of the SEC. You said that what?
Yeah. According to
OU,
this,
OU
again, Punt and Rally, OU is sitting at 8th, the 8th most talented team in the SEC. So that's like smack dab in the middle.
Yeah, and well, just as an example, Owen Heineke doesn't help out your blue chip ratio.
Not at all. No,
because he was a nothing recruit, but he's an awesome football player. There's a handful of players like that on other rosters too that don't help out their blue chip ratio that could, make their overall roster team rating higher. But just as an example, like OU has enough talent to have the expectation that you should win games. Like that to me is the important thing. Like the blue chip ratio conversation of 10, 15 years ago, that mattered because OU was trying to get to a threshold that had proven to, like, this is how you actually compete for titles. And OU just wasn't there because Bob coasted on recruiting, and the Big 12, playing in the Big 12 just doesn't help you with recruiting at all, especially on defense. So, yeah, like, are there teams more talented than OU? Of course there are. Are they so much more talented that, like, winning is like a dream and not a realistic expectation you should have? No. Does that mean I think they're going to beat Georgia? I mean, no. I don't think so either. But Georgia, they lost all their receivers. They lost Amaris Williams in their spring game for a torn ACL, who was their big transfer edge rusher from Auburn, because they lost their other edge rushers to the draft. And so they were expecting Amaris Williams to be like a big part of their defense, which, again, if anyone remembers from last year, I think Georgia was awful at getting to the quarterback. They hired somebody from the NFL. I'm trying to find it. I wrote about this on Sooners on SI. Can't find the guy's name. They hired somebody. Here it is. They hired Larry Knight. He's a pass rush guru to try to improve on that. Their inability to get to the quarterback last year. So even the teams that we see as like, these are juggernauts, and OU's never played against between the hedges, and Georgia's won these national championships in the last 5-6 years. Like, they have problems too. So everyone at this point is having to answer some questions in the offseason, and we're not going to know those answers till the season starts. Yes, Texas and Georgia have prettier looking rosters than Oklahoma's, and they have a little bit more of a proven track record. I mean, less so Texas, but, like, in terms of how much talent they have, it just doesn't matter because they've got a good offense that's already proven already, and they just added to it. But I think my overall point is, if we feel that OU is a good team, and we're going to have a very good instance or inkling of that, fairly early on in the year, if we feel like after the Georgia game, we should have a good understanding. Are they like, because they can lose to Georgia, but we could still feel like, no, this is a team that should compete. And if they then proceed to lose to Texas and Ole Miss and Texas, like basically to all the other good teams on their schedule, well, then that's very, very disappointing and disheartening because you're a good team and good teams don't lose games like that. I thought they were a good team last year, and that's how they played. They won their games, and however ugly they might be. So, I mean, to me, it's just the interesting thing is OU kind of belongs symbolically at 8th in whatever kind of ranking you want to put them in terms of like the SEC power order structure, because they're the one team that's the most volatile. If John Mateer makes a leap, they're like near the top of the SEC. If John Mateer makes no leap, oh boy, I hope that the defense can save them 3 or 4 games like they did last year. I mean, is that fair, Peyton?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's fair. It's more than fair as you see what Oklahoma is having to deal with and how they're having to kind of break some of this stuff down. I think where Oklahoma is, I mean, let's say Oklahoma truly has fallen below the 50% blue chip, right? Again, I'm trying to look at it. Their 26 recruiting class did not help that out, including transfers did not help you out with that a lot. They brought in 11 4-stars total, including all the transfers when, bringing in like 40 something players. So that's not helping you with your blue chip ratio. Indiana is still the only team on record to have won it, below that 50%. The 2000 Oklahoma definitely would have been, but they didn't have it back then. But where Oklahoma is that Oklahoma has a consistency at a place in which you would want the consistency, right? They finally now have a year-to-year, what they're returning like 4 of the 5 offensive linemen. You can literally say, oh no, they brought in 3 3-star tight ends from the transfer portal. Oh wow, those are so much better than what Oklahoma had last year. I mean, so some of this stuff is just, there will be increases across the board where I think Oklahoma just will be better. You know what I'm saying? Just will be intrinsically better just across the board. Does that necessarily mean a better record? Does that mean 11-1? Because that would be a better record. I'm not for sure if that's the case. I think Oklahoma's much more consistent, and we're not watching football games saying do something for 3 quarters. You know what I mean? I think Oklahoma's going to be able to do that, and sometimes you're going to lose football games, right? But it won't be something like, the playoff loss against Alabama. You look great until Alabama figures it out, and then you look like you're just shoved into a locker because it's like, well, they figured out this pre-snap motion thing. Now what do we do? I don't think that's going to happen again. I think Oklahoma's going to be able to run outside zone, to run inside, do RPO, do play action. They're going to have a full complement on their offensive side to play an actual football game against an actual football team. I think that is something that we just won't be uber frustrated with watching Oklahoma this coming fall.
Well, I guess like the overall point I'm trying to make here, though, is going into last year, we were trying to make making a lot of optimistic assumptions to project them to be better than they were in 2024 because they were so damn bad in 2024. At the same time, even though we were fairly optimistic last offseason, it was still a whole bunch of like, well, until they prove it, it just really doesn't matter. They've at least proven to some extent that they're a good team. And to me, when you are a good team and you have an O and a U on your helmet, you are held to a very high standard. And that high standard does not accept 8-4, even if your schedule's tough, because the schedule's tough. They've got to play Oklahoma too. It's tough for them that day because they're having to play you. And I mean, hell, the defense was what? 4th rated in SP Plus last year. It was truly an elite defense. Was it perfect all over the place, Lee Benson? No, it wasn't. Was it still an awesome side of the football? Of course it was. It stands to be just as good, if not better, this year. And if that happens, that's going to be a tough out for Georgia. That's going to be a tough out for Texas and whomever else. I mean, I know Texas fans, and deservingly so, they're very confident when it comes to playing Brent Venables and OU in the Cotton Bowl. but it's not like their offense really did much outside of one drive last year. And I mean, hell, if I'm playing Texas and I play for OU and I hear that Arch Manning just had surgery 16 days ago, I'm like, oh, sweet. I'm going to kill that SOB. That would be the mentality that I have. So with that said, I feel like an athlete. With all that being said, I think OU is a good team. So I'm holding them to a high standard because they're OU. Like 9-3 is the floor for acceptance for me. So your 9-3 records, guys. Yeah, I can accept that. Like I could still sit there and say, yeah, they didn't meet the highest end of their goals, but that was still a really good team. They just didn't make enough plays against Georgia, or they didn't make enough plays against Trinidad Chambliss. Them's just the breaks. But they won enough games. They beat a few good teams. They retained their honor. That's the important part. I think they're a good team, and so I'll hold them to the standard of, I think, 10-2. I'll just say, like, I have them losing to Georgia, and I have them losing to a team from Texas. But if you want to know who, go to patreon.com/throughthekeyhole. I'll talk about it later on future episodes. But I don't know. I went through each game, kind of made sense. It's going to be fun. I mean, this is why OU joined the SEC, is because all these games, even against Florida, who sucked the last few years, like, that's going to be fun. Mississippi State doesn't really do much because it's Mississippi State, but it's like there's a city in a stadium OU's never played in. That's fun. Like, that's what you sign up for. I'm excited for that stuff.
Now, I will say, as the guy who continually talks about those OU Texas games, Brent's only lost when his football team didn't have half its team. You know what I'm saying? If he has a healthy OU team, he has won. The issue is that hasn't always been true, as you can, but the issue is those losses have been like historic bad losses.
Yeah.
And it's hard to hand wave that away of going like, what do you want? Like, we had the tight end taking snaps at QB. Like, what's the point? But those games did happen, and OU did get like completely nuked from orbit. So it's just tough on that side. But as of this point in time, even though I said 9-3, like, I'm trying to look at it from like in July, trust me, I'll probably be a little bit more hyped up of being like, hey, we ain't lost to them when we're healthy. Like, I can coat my way into thinking OU will win that game.
That would be interesting. That would be the interesting thing. If there is a Texas fan equivalent to me who runs like a Texas football podcast, considering how they are kind of viewing Sarkisian right now, of basically saying like, you better win a national title this year or, hot seat. If I'm looking at his,
I'm going to jump in real fast. Sorry. They are rated. I don't have everything in front of me, but like top 5 QB, top 5 wide receivers, top 5 offensive line, top 5 defensive line, top 5 cornerbacks, top 5. All those guys are gone next year.
Yeah.
None of those guys are hanging around, for next year. It is a complete total rebuild after this year. So it is now, or Sark may win and still leave. I mean, it looks like it's, they're doing the opposite of OU. They're doing tomorrow's dead. We have to live right now.
That's good. Tomorrow is dead. I love it. What I was going to say was, if I'm a Texas fan, the way that I'm an OU fan, and I'm looking at him through with a fine tooth comb, I would point that out. It's like, hey, I love watching Texas beat the shit out of Oklahoma, but we already had these questions about Sark in terms of like big games. We've only really played one big game against OU where they were at near full health. Like, yeah, going into the game last year, OU was a higher rated team. Texas wasn't even ranked. So it was a great upset victory for them. But as the season wore along, oh yeah, that dude can't grip the football. We fortunately played them right after that happened. That's fortunate. Like, sports is about luck sometimes. There's nothing wrong with being lucky. And Texas got lucky. And quite frankly, Sarkisian has been rather lucky when it concerns OU's quarterback play, due to inability or unavailability or lack of full health. So, hey, but that all goes out the window if they smack John Mateer and he's healthy, and OU's all pretty much relatively healthy going into that game. All goes out the window if that happens. But like Peyton pointed out, 2023 is the lone example where that wasn't the case. And I mean, if you want to include 2021 in Sark's first year, OU had 2 healthy quarterbacks. They couldn't beat either of them. They were beating the crap out of one of them, but then he took a seat and the other guy showed up. And that was the rest was history. We'll get Allen's preseason prediction next week when he's back on. Obviously, he's wasn't on the show tonight. He's just busy. But we'll give him the floor next week to give his preseason predictions. Really quick segment before we get to Texas Tech, because I do want to talk about them. I just want to get kind of the pulse of you guys, of the room, in terms of offensive and defensive players that we just fast forward to November, and these dudes are like not the best players on the team by any stretch of the imagination, but they're very much a part of the system. They are very much a part of the machine that is Oklahoma football. So one on offense, one on defense, but they're guys that aren't being talked about right now. They're not the David Stones. They're not John Mateer, not Isaiah Satania, not Peyton Bowen, like not those dudes, not even some of the backups that everybody kind of assumes is going to play, like Nigel Smith, the backup interior defensive lineman, Cole Sullivan, not dudes like that. So Matt, we'll start with you on defense because you've got 2. So let's do your defensive, like no names who become big names by November.
Yeah. I don't know if I went more no names more than like, hey, people might not be talking about this guy as much. So my first one is going to be a Marion Robinson at one of the safety spots. Obviously, as we know, I mean, on defense especially, they rotate in quite a bit. And, with Jaden Hardy being out of there, that's an opportunity, right? I mean, that's an opportunity for someone. Robert Spears-Jennings also off to the NFL. Like there's opportunity there. And, I think everyone thinks, Michael Boganowski, Peyton Bowen, I think those will be the main 2 for sure. Reggie Powers may slide back, but I think he's going to be playing a lot of cheetah this year. So, I mean, this is, to me, Marion Robinson's kind of time to shine, right? Didn't really get much playing time last year, but was a guy that, we'd heard a lot about when we went through spring and fall camp and all that stuff. So, and he was just a true freshman last year. So with the way that they rotate in quite a bit there at the safety spot, I think that he has some potential there to earn even more playing time than he's already going to get. And then Kenny Ozawalu, the transfer from UTSA. Was it UTSA or UTEP? Was he a Roadrunner or was he a minor? Okay, yeah, UTSA there, but kind of like an in-between guy, edge and interior. Going to be interested to see where he plays, if they play him a bit of both there. But even there on the edge, like for me, the other edge spot outside of Taylor Wine is still up in the air. I mean, outside of Wine, PJ did some good things, especially in the run game last year. I think everyone's just really waiting for Danny Okoye, for the light to kind of come on for him, and I expect it to. But I was really impressed when I went back and watched some highlights of Kenny Ozawalu and what he did, again at a lower level. But I mean, when you talk about the body type, I mean, around 285, 290, somewhere around, like, I mean, that's a big dude to have there on the edge. So I'll say Kenny Ozawalu.
Kenny is a dude that if he takes to coaching, he has the potential to be like special, like really good. He looks great in pads, and it was a shame that he wasn't able to play in the spring game, because I was really looking forward to just seeing him, go up against other people instead of just like looking at him. But he looks awesome. Marion Robinson's also a good pull, just because I think people are just so in love with the fact that Michael Boganowski hits really hard. But I mean, I hope the body holds up. But that is a question that I have, is like, can he hold up health-wise, considering how hard he hits people? And if that's going to be a case where you want to kind of like rotate him in and out, keep him fresh. Amari Robinson's going to have a really good chance to have a lot of opportunities to play. So, and if he's the next guy, then I'm pretty sure Brandon knows what he's doing. Brent knows what he's doing. So probably going to be a good pull. On defense for you, Peyton, who you got?
Oh man, I don't have the chart. I think I put Marcus James, right?
Yeah, probably the best looking football player at OU.
Yes.
Maybe like David Stone, yeah, but I mean, I said it to you guys before the show, watching Marcus James wearing number 28 at linebacker at the spring game at ground level, and he's just kind of like standing upright, looks like Adrian Peterson in the I formation. Let me try to find I have the roster right here.
And the reason why I had him on here, and I was going to put the other linebacker, but you've done that. So the other young linebacker, but you put him on here, is when Oklahoma, it looked like Oklahoma needed to get like 3 linebackers out of the portal because of what they lost. And then they went and got 1 with Cole Sullivan. So that kind of made me think, okay, Marcus James and the one that once you get to your point in time, I was like, okay, people in the room, people inside the program, inside the facility must think very highly of these 2 guys. And it's kind of like a coin flip of which one's going to be on the field more than the other, because they lost a lot of depth. They needed to bring in depth, and then they didn't. They brought in one very nice piece that I'd be very happy for on that side of it. So I think Marcus James will be a good football player for Oklahoma. I think he will play a lot for Oklahoma. It will be something Oklahoma needs him to do. And also, it's kind of like another proof case for Oklahoma of saying, hey, we can go out and we can get these players, we can recruit them, we can bring them in from Oklahoma or not from Oklahoma, but we can get these guys, these 3-star prospects, and turn them into legitimate SEC NFL style football players, right? Marcus is a 3-star guy. Carl Albert, he's not somebody who, probably when he enrolled, people, when he committed, people were like, okay, cool, that's a nice depth piece. Same thing happened with R. Mason Thomas when he committed. Same thing happened with Wine when he committed. It's like, can this machine keep rolling, keep turning out these style of players? A linebacker in Brent Venables' system where they feel comfortable about it, I think that's pretty good. On offense, I just went for one of the running backs. I think that's going to be an easier room to break into. And then I picked the person who actually didn't have the same breakout from the spring game as the other 2 young ones, Lloyd Avant from Colorado State. Mainly due to body type and skill set, he'll have the ability to return kicks. He'll have the ability to be kind of a scat back. I think he has like a role kind of carved out for him that the other 2 running backs don't necessarily, if that makes sense. Like, those guys just play when X has to sit down or when Blaylock has to take a breather on that side of thing. I think there's plays and packages and systems to where if you're going to do a 2-back set, I think Avant is like in there because he's like your pass catching guy, in the flat and stuff like that. So I do think he has a chance to make an impact. Does that mean he's obviously, I think you broached it well. We're not saying these guys are going to lead Oklahoma in tackles and sacks and rushing yards, so like that. It's more like, hey, there's the guy. He's going to get 3 to 5 touches, and it's going to be nice. He's going to do impact. Marcus James is going to be on the second string. He's going to rotate in and out, and he's going to do his job, right? He's going to do his job, make a couple of plays, but he's not somebody you're like, I don't think we're making highlight packages about these guys. They're impacting it via that side and allowing those top end players, your front line. I keep talking from a hockey standpoint. Your starters, your 2 deep, to be effective up and down the roster.
Yeah. Marcus James, 6'3", 235. Just a huge human being. The question I would have, and we're not going to know this answer, but how you said, Peyton, you probably need to go get 3 linebackers because of the amount of players that they lost. Maybe that was the thought going into the portal, but then they were like, or we can just go get one real good one and get Cole Sullivan, and then maybe we can get Owen Heineke back. So maybe if that was the philosophy, then cool. I think everyone's pretty excited about Cole Sullivan, but that will play into the player that Peyton kind of mentioned that I pick on defense. But real quick, Matt, did you pick your offensive player?
I did. Yeah, I put down Manny Choice. And this is just going from the spring, really just going based off what we heard of in the spring, and also, I mean, I didn't feel great about it, but like Jermichael Carter wasn't really involved in the spring, who had some good moments last year.
Yeah.
Trell Harris wasn't involved in the spring, but again, I feel like that's important though, because I mean, when guys are out, like who shows up and who kind of separates themselves from the rest, and it kind of sounded like Manny Choice did that, and having a bigger receiver in Parker Livingston in front of him, I mean, that feels like pretty natural fit for Choice to kind of step in whenever Livingston has to come out and have another big receiver out of there. And maybe this is just me being like, hey, at some point, a really, really tall receiver has to work out for OU.
I mean, I thought in his opportunities, he looked like the best way I can describe it, like in the spring game, he just looked like someone who routinely knew what he was doing. Like he looked comfortable. Like I think the first pass of the game was John Mateer throwing like a fade route to him for a first down. And it's like, okay, he looks like he's comfortable doing that. And if that's a body type that can consistently be on the field and make plays, then that's going to be an advantage for OU. There's a lot of tall, physical cornerbacks in this conference. So you need big bodied receivers. It doesn't hurt. Okay. So, Peyton, you said Lloyd Avant for your offensive player, Manny Choice for yours, Matt. On defense, I'm going James Nesta. And it's purely because, one, he's been in the system for a while. And I tend to think that players that have been in Brent Venables' system, especially on defense, going into their third year, if they're any kind of good, they will see the field. And Brent knows how to coach linebackers, especially. I tend to think that James Nesta is going to be pretty good as a result. And then B, all spring from multiple players, including Cole Sullivan, Bishop Thomas, some other newcomers, all they said, unprompted half the time, man, that defensive playbook is hard to learn. There is a lot going on in it. And that's kind of the thing with Cole Sullivan is, will he learn the playbook in time to make consistent impacts? I think he's too talented to not be on the field, but I think that does open the door for a James Nesta who's been in the program for a long time at this point, and frankly looked, as Jimmy says in the chat right now, Jimmy Satterfield, looked really awesome in spring, just from a physical standpoint. So I think James Nesta and, Peyton's kind of right along too with Marcus James. I think those guys are going to have plenty of opportunities, maybe not early on in the season because OU has a lot of hard games. And you're not going to want to put a redshirt freshman Marcus James out there between the hedges in a position to fail. But there's going to be plenty of opportunities for these younger linebackers to try to get their ball rolling for this season. And then going into next year when you lose Owen Heineke and you lose Kip Lewis, because that's going to suck. And then on offense, I feel like anytime that we've talked about offensive dudes that we're excited about in terms of the young players, inexperienced players, I've always just said Jasheer Rogers, kind of like Manny Choice, Matt. That dude balled out in the spring game. And he balled out in the spring game. He balled out against OU's 1s and 2s.
I was about to say, that's the most important part to me, Brady, with Jasheer Rogers, is that the deck was fully stacked against the white team. So it makes it that much more impressive when someone, showed out a little bit like Jasheer Rogers did.
Yeah, like Matt Burton quote: "The whites were at a disadvantage." The white team, yes. No, yeah, exactly right. And I've always kind of wanted coaches to do spring games like that. I don't think Bob ever really did it like that. Lincoln did kind of like this fantasy draft BS, which is kind of fun for fans. Like if you're a kid, we were all kids at one point. But if you really want to see something you can take away from a spring game, other than just seeing players for the first time in pads, like what do they look like physically? Like we've talked about, Peyton, you and I think you can also take away what do some of these young players look like against the starters, because that is something you can take with you throughout summer and going into the fall. Jasheer Rogers just looked like the best player on the field when he had the ball in his hands. He just looked like a guy that had been doing it for a few years in college, and he's a true freshman from Delaware or Maine. He's from up there somewhere. So He's someone I'm extremely excited about. But again, the big caveat is Emmett Jones, A, and then B, I don't know if Ben Arbuckle wants to play that many receivers because he's not in his time as an OC, he's not really done that much. So, but maybe some of that was last year just kind of hamstrung because of John Mateer's injury and just injuries throughout the receiving core, A, and then at Washington State, you're dealing with Washington State talent. So maybe in a perfect situation, maybe he does want to rotate in a handful of guys at pass catcher. We don't know yet, but this is the last chance he gets before it becomes a fact. Also, before we get out of the OU portion, want to give a shout out to one of our listeners, Mr. Jeff Morris, who was on my ass in my DMs about last week's segment where we were doing floors and ceilings, Matt.
Mm-hmm.
And I said John Mateer's floor is that he gets benched. And again, that's my idea of his floor. And I told him, well, admittedly, I didn't want to have the same thing as Matt and Alan. I wanted to have like some kind of discussion and some discourse, but I could totally see a route where John Mateer is just such a disaster that you have to bench him. You know, like I think I tried to mention, I don't mean that he gets benched for good. I think that if John Mateer is destined to not be very good, he could have such a terrible day that he gets benched that game. So thank you, Jeff, for getting on my ass about it. I appreciate it. I appreciate the listens and the conversation back and forth. I'm always open. Like if you think I'm wrong about something, just hit me up at Brady Does Sports. Just let me know. I'm all for it. This is sports. It's fun. This isn't politics where people die. This is fun stuff. Now we get to a Monster Energy Drink Conference in Texas Tech. Texas Tech is doing a number on, actually, we're the victim here, BS, after they tried to skirt. I don't even want to say skirt the rules. They didn't try to skirt the rules because that's kind of what's going on now is you just get a favorable judge and get the injunction, and the NCAA can't enforce the rules. So what's stopping you? But in this case, what's stopping you is I guess, the moral standing of sports itself by playing a gambling quarterback. That's what should have stopped them. It didn't until the PR nightmare got too loud for them, and they were like, "Hey, Sorsby, please go away. We just need you to go away." Maybe Radford helped Mateer's vision. What we hope that happened. We certainly hope that. But like. Peyton, do you have the link ready to play? The journalist who asked Brett Yormark the question at Big 12 Media Day earlier today. It's on the Google Doc.
It's on the Google Doc. Got it. Check. I was about to say, it's like, oh my God, what's happening? What am I supposed to be doing?
Yeah, I just wanted to play it for those who aren't on Twitter 24/7, and we can play it and react to it live because there's a little bit to unpack with this one.
We're now going to share.
Does that link not work?
Share screen. No, it's working. It's working.
Sweet.
Screen. Share video.
Tech is.
Can you hear this guy?
Cannot hear him.
No.
Can we see him? There he is. Hey, look, it's our Twitter account.
Yeah, no.
That's the Twitter account. Go check it out. You're not listening there. Brady, keep vamping until I figure out the audio to shit.
Okay. So like just in terms of Texas Tech, them playing the victim card, because I don't want to single out, I don't want to dogpile on this journalist because people are kind of like, I don't know who this guy is. I'll just say, like, Matt, you've been to Big 12 Media Day. Have you gone to an SEC Media Day when it was in Dallas?
No.
Okay. But you've been to Big 12 Media Day, right?
No.
You haven't? Okay. My bad. I assumed
Do you think
have.
they send me anywhere, Brady?
Oh, yes, you're very handsome.
Oh, thank you.
Don't send Tyler. He's too tall. He'll bang his head on the doorway.
He's way too tall. I know.
Airplane rides suck for him. No, like conference media days are very awkward because you do sit in a large room, or when I went to Big 12 Media Day in Lincoln's first year, a long time ago, we were at the Star in Dallas, so the Cowboys practice facility. So we're sitting on a practice field, and there's a big stage, and So you're around like hundreds of other journalists, hundreds of like other like radio and podcasting people like further away from you. There's just a lot of people, a lot of commotion. And then if you have a question, you get handed a microphone. And again, if you're going to go to these things, you might as well ask a question. Like, so it's kind of, you need to do it. You get handed a microphone, and I mean, I can talk into a microphone. Obviously, I do it on the radio whenever I fill in. Matt does it all the time, every day. But hearing your voice in that environment is like, oh, I'm just trying to ask a question here. So it's not the most comfortable environment to do it. And again, I don't know who this journalist was. I'm not going to sit here and say that he's a Texas Tech fanboy or like parading his media, because I kind of thought that his question had merit, because if you think about journalists, their job in terms of sports media, like one of their jobs is to provide answers to the fans for questions they cannot ask. And I'm sure that zillions of Texas Tech fans had this question that this guy tried to ask Yormark at Big 12 Media Day. Peyton, do you have it now?
Keep vamping.
Okay.
Drastically.
Yeah. So I'm not going to sit here and say that he's a fanboy, but the general attitude surrounding Texas Tech and their program and their fans. Because I saw a younger journalist who, I don't know if he was at Big 12 Media Day, but quote tweet the video that we'll show and essentially say like, yeah, like this is just proof positive that Tech needs to lead the Big 12 as soon as possible. And then that's when my ears kind of perked up, and I clicked on I'm not going to say who it is because he's a young man. Clicked on the link, and I see like the cactus emoji and like go Raiders, like, but he's an aspiring journalist. We all start off as fans, like I am a fan covering OU football, but I try to not be fanboy when I'm there. Like that is kind of how I sleep at night with it. But who do they think they are? Who on earth do you think you are, Texas Tech? Like, we should leave. Where are you going to go? The Sun Belt, the Pac-12, the American Conference. And don't even say, we'll go independent, because you know what? If it were that easy, everybody would go independent, because the big caveat with going independent is you need to make that TV contract money. Please show me a TV channel that would want to sign a contract to watch Texas Tech football every single week, and then have their people go to Lubbock, Texas every week. I'm sorry, that doesn't exist. One season where they make the playoff, again, with a quarterback whose name I cannot recall, that they have beaten Texas 16 times, 14 times. Like it's like OU, OSU bad. These programs, like, look, I get that they've got a billionaire funding their program, and right now there is like a 5 to 7 year window where that can lead to some success. But at some point that will end. That there will be guardrails, there will be rules, and you can't just funnel your Saudi Arabian oil money or whatever it is into your football program to, like, I just really want them to be good, just as good as Texas, which I'm like, have higher aspirations. Texas sucks. They haven't won anything in a long time. Like, have higher aspirations at least. But like, guys, like, you are Texas Tech. You're not, the SEC doesn't want you. The Big Ten doesn't want you. Like the Techs, the OSUs, the Baylors, like at least they shut the hell up. Like all these schools that had the same amount of time to care about football enough to cheat their way to the top, like some other teams did, like some other programs did back in the 40s and the 50s, had the same amount of time. They chose not to for a zillion reasons. They chose to invest in other things. But now that college football is super fun and popular and makes a lot of money, now everybody wants to be in the big dance, and not everybody goes to prom. And I'm sorry, but crying that Cincinnati's not getting punished because, well, Sorsby gambled there and they're like, no one cares about them, because who cares? Like, you guys tried to play a quarterback who got caught. Like what, how did he actually get caught? Was this like by a court of law? Not by a court of law. Like how is he actually found quote unquote guilty of this. Matt, do you remember?
I can't remember how it came out. The first thing I remember with the Sorsby thing was that he had checked into a rehab facility for gambling addiction. That was the first I had heard of it.
Because
I don't
he
know.
got caught.
Right, but the very first thing I saw of it was he was checking into a rehab facility for it. I don't remember the first thing I saw of like someone catching him, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Well, he got caught by some entity. And I don't know. I don't remember. Oh well. That's why people don't like you, because you took that reality and said, screw it, we don't care, because Trinidad Chambliss got an extra year, so our quarterback can do that too. Those are not the same thing. Owen Heineke got an extra year, so our players can get it. Those are not the same thing. Like Trinidad, Owen didn't break any fucking rules. No one's going to like, did anybody say like, I'm not going to play Ole Miss or I'm not going to play Oklahoma anymore? Did you want to know why no one did? Because everyone was like, yeah, I would do the same thing. And they're fully in their right to do so. Gambling quarterback, not good. So Peyton, I'm going to assume we're having technical difficulties.
Yeah, sorry. We'd have to start the. I launched this in Safari, and in order to do it, I'd had to have launched this whole thing in Chrome. So I will adjust that moving forward. If I'm in Chrome, I can share audio.
Yeah, well, I mean, the guy asked the question about like Texas Tech can't throw tortillas on the field anymore. But OSU can still like hit their paddles on the wall, and I'm just like, God, this is such a child's conference of football. And Cincinnati hasn't been, they haven't been admonished or punished yet. You know, even though Sorsby played there last year and apparently gambled there, I don't know. So why should Texas Tech fans feel like the Big 12 cares about Texas Tech? Which again, that's a fine question to ask, because there are a lot of people that read his stuff or listen to his show or whatever he does that have that question. So it behooves him to ask that question. I would have framed it a little bit differently to not let it sound so fanboyish, but that's just me. And then Yormark like no answered him and kind of made him look like a fool. It was pretty unprofessional, but maybe the question was also a little bit unprofessional. So who knows? It's a pillow fight. Just not a good look for the Big 12. Not a good look for our show because we can't play the audio, but that's okay. We learned a lesson. But I mean, Peyton, I just I don't know if I want Texas Tech to win all their games, get to the playoff, and then get exposed again, or if I want them to just kind of like be them, which is Texas Tech. And oh yeah, they're on TV, and then you watch it for 5 minutes, and then you fall asleep.
No, I think Texas Tech is probably going to go 10-2 at worst case scenario, unless something like bad happens for them. I think potentially that would be better for Texas Tech because that would mean they would play in the first round of the playoffs. That was something I on the Solid Verbal, they were talking about the process with that. And maybe they had Andy Staples on as well, kind of talking about just if Texas Tech is going to win a playoff game, they need to be in the first round. They are not, as composed from their roster, good enough to beat a second round opponent. Even if they get a bye, that means, hey, you're just going to play a team good enough to be there. You know what I mean? And due to the quirk of the scheduling, you got a bye. I think it would actually behoove them to do like Duke basketball. Lose early, let's taste their own blood. Let's figure it out. Being a 1 seed or being a 2 seed or 3 seed, I do not think would be helpful for them, because that means you're going to be playing like Oregon and Ohio State. One of the teams who didn't win the conference that easily could have, and just getting shellacked. So I think for them, they'll be on that side. Yeah, we can hem and haw and say this and that. How they did it is obviously you hold your nose at, but I mean, I don't know. If Cody Campbell had gone to OU, I wouldn't be complaining about the amount of money he's putting into the program. I'd be complaining that he's talking a little too much. I don't even like OU's GM. Like, doing pressers as much as he does. So like I'm kind of like, hey, let the coach do all that. So I
Cody,
get it from that perspective.
If Cody went to OU, he would just be another faceless donor that people might know. Like people obviously know some of the donors because some of their names are on buildings or they have private jets that fly to go hire Brent Venables. But like that's the thing about OU is they are not hurting for cash. It's just always about like, do we believe that we can invest in you? If we do, here's your money. Like historically, if OU is good and they want player X and player X costs a lot of money, well, guess what? Here's a bag of money. That's what OU does.
Yeah.
Cody
And
Campbell
the thing
just-
too for Cody at Texas Tech is that not only is he the money guy, he's also the president and the board of regents, right? For them.
Yeah,
so it's
he's their face.
He's
their Phil
he's
Knight
in there. So it's some of that's a little different. It's obviously Oklahoma State coded, with a T-Boone on that side of it. But yeah, you're right. I mean, Oklahoma would probably have enough institutional know-how around him to say, "Hey, calm down, guy. Like it's going to be okay."
No more podcasts. No more.
No.
Can't be doing that. I mean, Matt, do you have a little bit of a softer glove when it comes to these lower level schools as I characterize them? Because again, like it's just, I just remember so many boring game days in the late 2000s, in the 2010s, where OU was trying, and look, OU had their own problems and they stubbed their toe, and that's on them. But how many times did Texas Tech or even Texas A&M in their final few years in the Big 12 roll into Norman with, no energy? Like there was no vibe around campus for the game. It was just, he's going to beat the shit out of them by 45 points. We're all going to go home, and if they don't, then we're going to fire everybody. That's how those games went. And now you fast forward 20 years where you have this window of time with no rules and money can kind of flow all over the place. So some schools that have billionaire donors have an advantage. And so now all of a sudden I'm just seeing these schools suddenly give a shit. And I'm just like, shut up. You were not a part of this thing 20 years ago. You're not going to be a part of this thing 20 years from now. So please shut up. Like, I'm just tired of it.
I mean, with Tech specifically, it's not a thing of like, oh, you were born on third base and thought you hit a triple. It was literally like they hadn't even made it to first base. Then someone comes and picks them up and puts them on third base, and now they've hit a triple. It's crazy to me. Like, kind of to your point. I mean, the first thing you said when we talked about this, just like, who do you think you are? I mean, that's kind of how I feel. Like, okay, you're gonna get mad and do what? What are you gonna do about it? Nothing.
Yeah.
You don't have anything to do about it. Like, yeah, I'm sorry that your quarterback that you paid money to came out and said that he had a gambling problem. I'm sorry about that. I'm sorry that he bet negatively on his own team twice. I'm sorry. That is breaking a cardinal rule in all of sports. That's like the number one thing that you don't do to protect the integrity of the game. I don't know why this is such a hard concept to grasp, that he can't play anymore. I'm sorry that happened to you, but hey, the quarterback that you had last year that played a couple, get behind him. Use that as a thing of like, okay, well, crap, like the deck is stacked against us. So let's rally behind Will Hammond. Let's rally behind, if it's Kirk Francis, the transfer from Tulsa, let's rally behind him. Hell, we paid $1 billion for this roster outside of the QB anyways. We feel like we still have a pretty good shot. Like, all right, screw that guy. He bet against his own team. We don't want that guy anyways. Let's roll with the guys that we have. That should be the attitude. But instead, it's hey, we hit a triple. Why aren't you respecting us that we hit a triple?
Yeah.
When they didn't. They got picked up and placed on third base.
I know. I mean, again, like I know that there are probably some OU fans, and I've seen some. The engagement farming, I understand why it exists. I don't have to like it, but to those OU fans, like, hey, there's really no need to try to defend not winning a playoff game. We understand there's nuance to that statement, and there's reasons for that statement that are kind of outside of somewhat outside of OU's control. At the end of the day, though, it's like, what can you say to that other than, yeah, we need to be better? And I wish every fan had that mentality when their team gets disparaged, is like, don't always take it personally and try to like, yeah, you guys are right. And I mean, I had somebody in my mentions like last year, some Tech fan just basically BS me or BS OU. And I just responded like, hey, you guys won the last game. Like, we don't want to play y'all anymore. It's like, y'all are too good. And that's all you can say. It's like, y'all are too good. Like we ran, you're right. We ran away from the tortillas. So we apologize, but we understand when we are beaten and when we're conquered, and Texas Tech has conquered Oklahoma. Yeah, like I mean, Jim Nagy said it. A lot of other people have said essentially this: you recruit your own problems, and they either didn't do their due diligence when they got Sorsby to come to campus. I'm going to assume that they didn't, or they did and they thought they can just get away with it. Because yeah, like, is he the only dude that gambles? No, of course not. But if you're going to cheat, don't get caught. And if you get caught, sorry, there are consequences. And look, I'm glad that, I mean, the NFL isn't going to draft Sorsby. I'm very happy that this is the outcome for Sorsby, because there is accountability to be had. Like he has to reckon with if he has a problem with gambling and he's not just a kid with a lot of money and just using it as like a PR like pillow so that people don't hate on him so much, to say like, I actually have a mental illness problem here. If that be true, then it's good that there is accountability to be had where he's going to be basically suspended for a year so that he can work on it. Because I don't want him to be a degenerate for the rest of his life. If he truly can make amends and heal himself, great. That's what we all need in this world, is people to have an ability to recover from their mistakes. But you don't get to recover from them when you get to skirt consequences and then go play football like that year for that same team. So that's why. But that's where we're going to leave it, I think. Did we have anything else, gents?
I didn't.
We look forward to Alan's preseason prediction next week. Patrons, I will be having a podcast later this week. Peyton, do you have another? Do you have what would be? You did Georgia last week.
Have you already done reached out to a few Texas guys, so waiting to hear back from them and kind of seeing where to go from there. But Texas is next up to be recorded.
Okay. We look forward to that, and that'll go out on our Patreon page, patreon.com/the Keyhole. The other previews have been really awesome so far, Peyton. So go check those out, patrons or prospective patrons. But for the absent Alan Kinney, thank you, Jimmy. Shout out to you. Shout out Pirates. Sleep soundly. Thank you guys in the chat. Appreciate y'all watching. Again, you can watch the YouTube stream live if you're a patron. But once a month, we do like a public. Like, we had to make it public today because one of us pressed the wrong button. That's my bad. We'd usually do like a public free stream once a month. So, but if you want to do it consistently, go be a patron. But for the absent Alan Kinney, the present Matt Burton, Peyton Guthrie, and myself, Brady Trantham, everybody, thank you so much for watching through the Keyhole. So, Boomer?
Suitor?